it's race day. That means it's the first of the 62025, but there is breaking news, kind of. Lance Stroll won't be competing for the Spanish Grand Prix. He is withdrawn due to an exacerbated hand injury. Now, we know that he incurred this a couple moons ago in Malaga, was it not, on a biking accident. Let's go through it, because Autosport, all F1 journalistic publications are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. Let's hear what Autosport have to say for themselves, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to get techier than techie things. Autosport reports, as of May the 31st, 9:25 p.m, that Stroll withdraws from the Spanish Grand Prix due to a hand injury. Oh, the humanity. It gets techier than techie things over the next 10 minutes or so. Lance Stroll apparently is unable to start in F1 Spanish Grand Prix due to pain in his right hand. Repetitive strain, any. Why his right hand? I should not kid. This is not funny. Health is not something with which we should play. Aston Martin F1 driver Lance Stroll will not take part in Sunday's Spanish Grand Prix due to pain in his right hand and wrist. Skeptical hippo face, but I should not take this in jest. On Saturday, Stroll qualified in 14th, but the Canadian will not take up the grid position tomorrow after experiencing recurring pain in his right hand and wrist. The team said the discomfort was related to when he broke his hand in a cycling accident on the eve of the 2023 season, and Stroll will now undergo surgery to find a solution. Quote, over the course of the past 6 weeks, Lance has been experiencing pain in his hand and wrist. This is not funny. This is health. They keep talking about hand and wrist too much. I can't cope. What are we doing here? How? Come on, Cameron, get your mind out of the gutter, sir. Which his medical consultant believes is in relation to the procedure he underwent in 2023, Aston Martin said. As a result, his medical team have confirmed, quote, that he will not race tomorrow and he will undergo procedure to rectify these issues before focusing on his recovery. Herein lies my problem before we continue. Lance Stroll has been rubbish for 1,000 gazillion years. You will recall that a couple of cycles ago, he gave, or Alonso gave the position to him under the understanding that before the checkered flag, they would do the switcheroonie and he would get it back. You will recall 2024 Brazil Grand Prix settings, Lance Stroll yeeting it into the barrier, causing red flags at every single twisty as near as neck makes no difference. Formation lap goes off and thinks it's acceptable, a thing that Aston Martin, 1,000 brake horsepower rear-wheel drive F1 car is going to be able to make it through the bloody gravel. What's he doing here? What are we doing here? This dude doesn't look like he wants to be here. It hasn't looked like he wanted to be an F1 driver. The job for which thousands, no millions of people around the world will kill for the longest time. He's a nepotism baby. That only because Lance Stroll, his daddy, owns the business. He's there by dint of that. This is entitlement. An F1 drive should be earned, some say, of course, to a greater or lesser extent. All of those currently on the grid are paid drivers. I get it. There is no F1 career without finances. It is a requisite indeed, but this is a difference in extents and not kinds, some will say. But I digress. Autosport continues. A week before Bahrain's 2023 pre-season test, Stroll sustained injuries during training ride in Malaga, including fractures in both wrists as well as a broken toe. But hang on, what's going on here? That was how long ago? 2023, and it is 2025. That was 2 years ago, and this is a repetitive injury reoccurring now. So how long does Lance Stroll have left in Formula One? Not even if we're talking about on merit and performance and or underperformance, but as far as his ability, no capability to drive one of these chariots of fire. But I digress. Having had screws inserted into his right wrist, Stroll sat out testing but made a swift recovery way ahead of schedule. The following week, he pulled out of that blah, blah, blah. Stroll will now miss a Grand Prix after all. 2 years after the initial injury. And this is pause for thought. Concern for Lance Stroll's career going forward, because this is a repeat of an injury prior. 2 years prior. after the initial injury. At the time of writing, is not known yet whether Stroll will recover from the procedure in time for F1's next race at the Canadian Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, by the way. But Stroll will understandably be keen to ensure he's fighting fit for his home race in Montreal in 2 weeks' time. First practice for the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve event is scheduled on Friday the 13th. Pathetic fantasy. And Stroll pulling out after qualifying. Here we go. Stroll pulling out after qualifying. And this is where it gets techie, and I'm about to go scorched earth. Stroll pulling out after qualifying. The timing means that Aston Martin will only enter Fernando Alonso's car in the Spanish Grand Prix. 19 cars, therefore, will start on the grid. Oh, the humanity, chat. And here's where I've got to go scorched earth now. Nobody's going to tell me that Lance Stroll all of a sudden experienced pain after free practice. That's not the way, if I understand my very noddy B-spec mind works. I don't think that's the way these injuries occur. Not at least in my career. If you had a niggle, it would reoccur, it would happen, it would bubble. It doesn't just pop up on Saturday after free practice 3. I feel like, listen, again, this is speculation and conjecture, but there is no way that Lance Stroll and Lawrence Stroll won't have known that this is an issue before we arrive at this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. There is no way. Occam's razor, I don't believe it. You're not going to sell me on that idea. This is F1 baloney. Ergo, there is a reserve driver who has a name. His name is Felipe Drugovich. He's been waiting in the wings for a few years now. Won F2, not in 24, not in 23, in 2022. This dude has been hanging around now for 3 years, as near as makes no difference. And ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury, I put this forth as my principal supposition. It's not fair that you have a young, hungry lion, a fire-breathing dragon of a potential F1 peddler in Felipe Drugovich, sat on the sidelines for so long, particularly if Lance Stroll knew in real time that he had himself a problem, that in all probability he wasn't going to be able to drive this weekend's Grand Prix, at least not 66 laps of. So therefore you defend or you vacate. You have Felipe Drugovich waiting in the wings. You have yourself a health problem that means you're not going to be able to drive. So surely then, give that dude the seat. Let him get that timing. Let him get into free practice, because you know what the rules are. If indeed you're not going to be driving, then defend or vacate. How very dare Lance Stroll do this? But again, it's in line with what we understand. Colour me naive. You know who Lance Stroll is at this time. He's nothing if not selfish. The incredible sulk, window licker himself. Lance Stroll, of course, this is in line with the behaviour that we've seen from him over the course of his F1 career, because he's nothing if not self-serving. He would have known, I put forth, that in all probability, in all likelihood, he wasn't going to drive, but he wouldn't have wanted Felipe Drugovich to jump in that car and upstage him, just as Felipe did at Brazil in free practice a couple of years ago, when he jumped in the car then quicker than both Fernando Alonso, two-time champion 05 and 06, and Lance Stroll, son of the owner of the business. It is techier than techie things, and if you can't tell already, I do not like it. I'm not a fan of this type of behaviour, particularly as the career of the one that they call Felipe Drugovich is wasting away, not by the day or the week or the year, but now by the second. Oh, the humanity.